Well, hey folks, Real Honesty with John Rittland. My review of the four June 1993 episodes of Monday Night Raw. Pretty much the same that I've done from January through to May. The July ones will actually probably go up on July 4th to commemorate the Lex Luger body slamming Yokozuna, the 25 years since that happened. And I might even do a show about the build that they did for him to Yokozuna for the title and the whole Lex Express. That fucking bullshit. I'm going to talk about that in another video, though. These episodes, there were a couple that weren't too bad. One had a pretty good 2 out of 3 falls match that we'll get to in a bit. But you had Bobby Heenan, Randy Savage, and Vince McMahon on commentary. Liked the dynamic between all three of them. Even if Randy wasn't the best commentator, I concede that. He wasn't the best wrestler turned commentator. He had a lot of energy and a lot of knowledge. Sometimes it didn't translate the best, but you got to give Randy credit. He was exuberant and he had a lot of fun. He was better than Piper on WWE commentary. Piper's commentary in the Mid-Atlantic area was actually fucking terrific because he was allowed to be much more of a heel. Moving on from that, I'll try to do a show at some point about the worst wrestling commentators. Even though I've done that before, I may just do a redux because there have been others, like worst wrestlers turned commentators or something like that, and we'll see. But that's a long list. Moving on, Shawn's new IC champion. He beat Mari Jannetty at a house show. Mari Jannetty, I guess, had another run-in with the law or something, had to drop the title, only held it for a few weeks. Damn shame because they could have carried this to SummerSlam and then Shawn could have won the belt back, but at least by then we would have had a good program. That was such a start and stop feud because Marty just couldn't keep his goddamn nose clean. Both as far as criminal activity and drug use, I imagine, because look at the guy. I mean, the guy's had a hard life and kind of his fault with what he keeps doing to himself. Diesel out of ringside. Diesel, I believe this was his TV debut, or at least this was at least only his second or third appearance on TV. If I recall correctly. Granted, it's a little bit messy, but I believe it was because you had Shawn, introduce Diesel. This is my bodyguard, my insurance policy. And then Nash proceeded to tear a quad outside the ring. Sorry, just the Nash quad jokes. They're still good. I mean, nothing against Kevin Nash as a person. He speaks well on a lot of issues. Even if I don't always agree with the guy, he speaks well on a lot of stuff. And is actually pretty informed. So, you had Shawn Michaels versus Ross Greenberg. And boom, that was it. And King of the Ring report, Mean Gene runs down the card and everything, the hype, the final reports and breaking news before the event happens that following Sunday. This is the last Raw before the King of the Ring pay-per-view. And you had Shawn back in the arena, back in the Manhattan Center, run down the fact he's got to face Crush in the opening match of the tournament. Then you had Adam Bomb versus Omador. It was okay. Nice slingshot clothesline by Adam Bomb to get the victory. And Johnny Polo was at ringside as his manager. Adam Bomb is a character Johnny Polo was raving about. That is an excellent pun. Actually terrible, but that's alright. Only the best puns are terrible at the same time. Tatanka defeated Peter Weeks. Weeks and weeks of build, and that was it. No kidding. Tatanka won. King's Court with Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji. King was exposing his scepter on live TV. Have fun on seeing that. It was mainly just hype for the match he had with Hogan. Yokozuna had with Hogan. And of course, King still took some shots at the New York crowd, easy for me to say. And it certainly wasn't too bad. Well, it wasn't bad. It was good hype, even though it's a good thing they brought Jim Cornette in to be the American spokesperson for Yokozuna, because I love Fuji, but he wasn't that good of a manager, and it's because of the language barrier, and it wasn't Fuji's fault. It was kind of Vince's fault for putting Fuji there, because Fuji could get his point across, but he did have, language barrier issues, as anybody's going to have when they come to, America, or anybody that goes to another country. If you're not born in a country, it's going to be hard to learn the language fully and do all that. But that's not a knock against Fuji. It's just a good thing they brought in Jim Cornette. To make the shots and everything as far as, while he was running Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And then Billy Gunn and Rick Steiner versus IRS and Fatu was a mess. And this was just a way to hype an 8-man tag where the Smoking Guns and Steiners were going to face Money Inc. and the Head Shrinkers. And it was a mess. And IRS and Fatu ended up getting the victory. Which, okay, it was what it was. It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad main event. It just wasn't great. Then a Razor interview. He's hyping up facing the kid. Keeps upping the money. It was $2,500, then $5,000, then $7,500, and that ended up being Then next week he would make the following week he would make a bigger offer. So certainly not a bad episode of Raw, but besides seeing Diesel, make his TV debut and maybe that main event, unless you're a completionist and you want to see every episode that leads up to a pay-per-view, okay, you could watch this. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. And then the June 14th, 1993 episode that took place right after King of the Ring. And this was obviously a live show. They had to make it a live show because you can't spoil the pay-per-view for the audience before it happens. Not that ever stops some people, like Impact, with the way they tape some of their stuff. But also WWE did some of that stuff too, and WCW did it, which was odd. I never quite understood that. I mean, I get cost cutting, but it was weird. Anyway, they had a piece from King of the Ring. Yokozuna is the new WWE champion. Hooray! He should have never lost the title at WrestleMania 9, but Hogan just had to stroke his own ego. Gross. Mr. Perfect defeated L.A. Gore with Magnum TA levels of perm hair. I love Magnum TA. Pretty good talent, but that's what L.A. Gore reminded me of, like a knockoff version of Magnum TA. That's not a knock against the guy. That's just the impression I got from his gimmick. Mr. Perfect won, duh, of course. Razor interview, he had his sack full of money. Get your mind out of the gutter. I run a clean show here. $10,000 offer to face the kid again. And later the kid would accept, would actually be on the phone during a match where the announcers completely undercut the whole match. The kid decided to accept the offer to face him next week. Doink versus Mari Jannetty, it was good for what it was, but then there was a count up, and then they would announce a 2 out of 3 falls match for the following week, which was good stuff. And the reason it was a count out is because you had the 2 Doink thing and that kind of stuff. Owen Hart defeated Daniel Rubies. I don't know what his name was. I didn't fully catch the name because I don't care about the name of a lot of these jobbers unless it turns out to be somebody that actually went on to do some big things. Like how PJ Walker made appearances. Speaking of which, PJ Walker actually made an appearance later, but yeah, as a squash, Owen Hart won. This is where the match where the call happened. 1, 2, 3 kid accepting the offer, and then you had recaps of Taker defeating PJ Walker, who would, I believe, later become Just Incredible, if I recall correctly. And then you had Mr. Hughes run down during this, where Gonzalez and Taker are attacking each other, and Hughes takes the urn from Paul Bearer, cracks the urn over Taker's head, and drops the urn right outside. Great job, Mr. Hughes. Seriously, he was a clumsy fuck. Never understood why the hell that gimmick was ever seen as anything other than Jobberville. I mean, I don't know the guy, obviously, but I just saw it as a jobber gimmick. I mean, it was better than WCW. That's not saying much. But, yeah, it wasn't very good. Just really, really wasn't. I mean, I think Hughes lost to Taker soon after SummerSlam anyway, because he wasn't in WWE that long before leaving and then coming back sometime in late 96, early 97. But yeah, it recaps Taker and Gonzalez, and it was just a way to hype their match. I think for SummerSlam, it was some kind of gimmick, not last man standing, but not last rights, but it was something. I didn't look up the SummerSlam results, sorry. Jerry Lawler defeated Thomas something or other, a big muscly guy, and he squashed, and he was wearing pink and black as a way to hype up his coming feud with Bret Hart after Lawler had attacked Bret, right after Bret had the King of the Ring coronation, which was good, and would actually be Lawler running down the whole thing, running down Bret's family and that kind of stuff, which would lead to some good stuff and some start and stop stuff because, oh yeah, Lawler got involved in a little bit of a sticky situation with a girl that he may have not actually done anything with. Maybe. Kinda. Who knows? Allegedly. That was in November, though, hence why Shawn Michaels had to replace Jerry Lawler. Good job, Lawler. Anyway, so not a bad match, or not a bad show. It was a nice little way to hype up some things. And then next week, so basically the 21st of June, recast 1, 2, 3 Kid beating Razor weeks ago. They said 6 weeks ago, yet something doesn't line up about that. I mean, that was only actually like a month ago. But whatever. No, I'm not going to argue. It was like just over a month ago. Steiner's defeated Barry Hardy and someone, I didn't catch the name, whatever. Steiner's won, it was a squash. Doink and Mari Jannetty, 2 out of 3 falls, it was great. It was a very, very good match. Even with the messy stuff at the end, it was a very good match. Doink got the first fall. Marty got the second fall. Third fall goes to Marty, even though Doink had won the third fall, since it was obviously there were two Doinks. Once Savage exposed the fact that there were two Doinks to the referee reversed his decision. Marty Jannetty got the victory. Bobby Heenan's all upset. Savage is pointing his finger in Bobby Heenan's face. But it was good stuff. This is a match. If you don't watch anything else out of all these episodes, the June 21st, 1993 edition had this really good 2 out of 3 falls match. And it was a good TV match. Like, don't get me wrong, I think it was like 15 minutes. But it was good storytelling. And it was a reminder that Doink, Matt Bourne as Doink, was a really good worker. And they should have kept the clown evil. Bourne was a much better evil clown than when they tried to make the character face. I mean, I don't know. But that was good. That was a good finish. And then you had Mr. Hughes defeat Bobby Who, and it just started with a whole, joke thing between Vince and Bobby Heenan. Damn, Finkel doesn't even know his last name. Bobby Who? Yeah, exactly. No one knows his last name. I don't know why it was stupid. Stupid humor, but it was funny. Because Vince's, ineptness is funny. And Bobby Heenan is hilarious, because that's just how Bobby Heenan is. Then Razor and 1-2-3 Kid in a $10,000 challenge. There was some good stuff here. It was certainly less of a squash than it was before, but there was this one point, the ring mats got exposed outside after Kid had almost beaten Razor a few times in like a minute in the opening match. Razor took over. There was this one moment, and I don't know if it was planned or what, but it looked bad. The ring mats were pulled back, so it was just concrete. And this is in Poughkeepsie. Otherwise, it just would have been carpet in the Manhattan Center, or at least as far as I could tell. But anyway, 1-2-3 Kid's going up for to do a flip, do a flip, rolling senton, something like that. And he slips, and Razor basically saved him, because, Kid hit the concrete, but Razor sort of helped absorb the blow. Like, sort of catching him. It was a bit of a shock and everything, and ooh, it just looked bad, but fortunately, Kid seemed to be okay. A little more bang, boom, 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 back in the ring. And at one point, Kid gets thrown towards the sack of money that's in the corner. Kid grabs the sack, runs out of the arena, with Razor chasing him. So his whole idea was Kid did not have to beat Razor to get the money. He just had to survive. So he outsmarted Razor and took 10 grand and had a car waiting outside and everything. So he went and took the money, and he kept building the feud. And it was good stuff. This was probably the best episode of Monday Night Raw of this block. Because then you have the next episode, which wasn't bad. So yeah, I would say of all the episodes, if you check out this one was pretty fun. The June 21st, 1993 edition. And then the June 28th, 1993 edition, Shawn versus Kamala, was okay. Kamala by this point was pretty much a joke. He was still capable in the ring. He still certainly wasn't bad, but he was not the world class Kamala. He was not even Kamala from 89, 90. And whatever the reason was for that, he just wasn't that good, but it was a serviceable match. Shawn, of course, got the victory after Diesel had distracted Kamala in a super kick to the back of the head that didn't look very good. Nor did the selling of it look very good. But Shawn got the victory. Diesel runs in, starts pounding on Kamala after Kamala had got back up and tries attacking Shawn. And, the first time you see Diesel get physical in WWE, of course, he essentially was this Vinny Vegas character in WCW, just in WWE for a few months, which was kind of funny, just the way he was dressed and everything, and the acid wash jeans. Sweet Jesus, never forget the acid wash jeans. Then you had Mr. Fuji and Yokozuna hype up the fact that they're going to have the July 4th Body Slam Challenge on the USS Intrepid. And I give credit, they really hyped the shit out of this and showed recaps of it on Raw, which was smart. I think they should have just run it as a live event. Because tell me that wouldn't have gotten some good eyeballs. USA Network probably would have been all for it. Maybe they did run it as a live event. I don't remember. I was only 12 at the time, so I can't recall that they ran it as a live event. But I remember seeing it on Raw. And yeah, 12-year-old me was like, holy crap, somebody slammed Yokozuna. Oh god, it was Luger. Even back then, I'm just like, oh god, it was Luger. I don't, no, I don't need a Hogan clone. Were actually my exact words. I said, and Hogan, I said, Hogan's funny when he talks. Luger's boring, you know? I was an angsty little shit, as opposed to what I am now, being just a shit. I kid. I'm just a smarky wrestling fan. So, Smoking Guns defeated Mike Sharp and Barry Horowitz. Interesting to see Barry Horowitz play a heel role here. Mike Sharp, I don't think wrestled much after this, because Mike was starting to get a little, I don't want to say out of shape, but everybody gets to where they're kind of out of shape by the end of their career. Most people, I mean, unless you're Jushin Thunder Liger, and then you look better at 53 than most of us ever did at 23. But yeah, it was a squash. Smoking Guns won. Interview with Money Inc. They slam Razor. It set up planned seeds for a face turn for Razor, and also for 1-2-3 Kid to face Ted DiBiase in a match later on. Not like in this episode, but I think in either July or August. It was one of the two. Because Ted DiBiase would be done in WWE as far as an in-ring competitor soon after SummerSlam 93. He would go to, I believe, All Japan for a little bit. And he would return to WWE like by the 94 Rumble to do commentary, and that was it. I think he was done competing very soon after this. Because it was neck or back issues. It was one of the two. But he also been wrestling since like the 70s. So he had a long career. But Adam Bomb defeated PJ Walker, okay? And then Crush defeated Bastion Booger. And of course Bobby Heenan there, before this match, he says, I'm picking Booger to win. Bobby Heenan can make the stupidest jokes work, and that's just what was great about him. God, I miss Bobby Heenan. I'm glad that he's not in pain anymore, as I could tell just looking at him and all the health issues he had. I seriously wish we still had the old Bobby Heenan. I'm just glad he's not in pain anymore. I'm sorry, I really am sorry he's dead, but I'm just so glad the man's not in pain anymore. Great wrestling mind, great guy. Just from what I could tell. Very honest, brutally honest. But Crush defeated Bastion Booger. Savage hyping up the Body Slam Challenger, one of the New York Giants. I didn't catch the name. I didn't really care. Zubas, though. Zubas were really popular in 93. And that was it. So yeah, the last two episodes weren't that bad, especially that 2 out of 3 Falls match on the 21st episode. And that episode would actually probably be the one you should go out and watch. So anyway, that's what I have to say. And I will be back. I'm recording these actually before SmackDown June 12th, as I look over at the calendar that you can't see. And point off, screen at the calendar that you can't see. But I will be back probably sometime next week, or maybe even the last week of June, to talk about the July 1993 episodes and then upload those on July 4th. And I will actually also do a reflection on Luger's run to the title. Failed run to the title, because Luger's a failure. That's what he is. Anyway, agree, disagree with what I said. What are some shows for 93, like, or some reviews, some reflections for 93 you'd like to see me talk about? Bear in mind, I'm going to talk about the Shockmaster. The Shockmaster's debut. I'm going to do Beach Blast 1993, WCW Beach Blast 93. Let me know in the comments what you want me to talk about. Like, share, subscribe. Also, it's been Real Honesty with John Rittland, and I will see you soon.